This is Fountain Pendulum. Let's chat a little bit about Pelikan pens and inks and the Pelikan hub also. The Pelikan hub is kind of what just occurred that made me or initiated me to do this video. But these are the 4 Pelikan pens that I took to the Pelikan hub this year for 2024. It's an annual event that Pelikan sponsors and happens globally. And they usually will give out the ink of the year along with a notepad with notorious paper, and then it's up to the organizers of the event. That's not specifically like sponsored. In other words, that's all that Pelikan provides, and then the hub masters or the coordinators for the event are responsible for putting together the rest of the event as far as where they're going to meet to accommodate the people that RSVP. It is an event that you have to RSVP for much in advance and register for in order to receive your inks. So I'll link to the Pelikan hub website so that you can look into that if you haven't done it before and are interested in a future year. But I want to dive into the pens that I took, and I want to do swatching not only for this ink of the year, which was given to the attendees, Golden Lapis, but I want to go ahead and swatch the 6 inks from Pelikan that I have, just to kind of give you an idea of their offerings. It's a pretty nice range. So starting with my most modern, here I have the Pelikan M400 White Tortoise, and this is the only modern Pelikan that I have in my collection, and it was just such a beautiful pen that I went ahead and picked that up. I'm not immensely fond of modern Pelikan nibs. I'm really fond of the vintage. So the rest of them are vintage, and we'll take a look at these. This is an M400 in the tortoise shell, so it's like the brown color. And all these pens, these 3 have the same nib size and nib unit that can be interchanged. So I've actually swapped out the nibs. For instance, I'll show you this one. This is the Pelikan M250, and this one I have the modern nib on it that is actually from the White Tortoise. So you can see what I'm up to here. And then this one has a vintage nib on it that's actually from this pen. They're all, those 2 are extra fine. And then my White Tortoise has the nib that came on this, which is a medium that has been ground into a cursive italic. Now, the oldest in my collection is this Pelikan 100, which I recently acquired, and it has a really lovely extra fine nib on it, and it's a very responsive nib. And this has an ebonite feed. Those feeds on there are monsters. They provide a lot of ink. So those are the pens. I have provided here a writing sample. So this is the Pelikan 100 extra fine. And then this is the M250 with the extra fine modern nib on it. That has been ground also. The Pelikan M400, the extra fine vintage nib. And the Pelikan 400 white tortoise, that's with the medium cursive metallic grind. So yes, we can go ahead and set these aside and take a look at doing some ink swatching. So the ink of the year is the ink that is provided to attendees to the Pelikan Hub every year. So this year, the ink was the golden lapis. So it's blue with a gold shimmer. And the bottle is very beautiful. You can see I already put a little swatch on it. I really like that the etching was done in gold and the cap is gold. And last year was rose quartz, silver and silver. So they switched it up a bit. So let's go ahead and get to the swatching. Now I'm going to change the order around a little bit. I'm going to get through my swatching and then I'm going to go through all the tools that I used to create this spread and also to do my ink swatching. Now on this ink, you can see that there is a very generous amount of gold shimmer at the bottom there. Now, I've already done some swatching on this, and if you're an individual who does not enjoy or appreciate shimmer in their pens especially, it's advisable, you know, don't shake your bottle. All the shimmer will, for the most part, will stay at the bottom, and you can enjoy this ink without the shimmer, that aspect of it. And I'll show you a swatch of what it looks like if you do not shake it. We can put here 20, 24. Golden lapis. So here is a swatch of the Pelikan Idle Shine Golden Lapis with the shimmer, so the bottle being mixed, and then without mixing the bottle. And I really don't pick up any shimmer there except for that dot that I got. So I think it's very possible to be able to fill your pen without the shimmer if you so choose. Next up, we have the ink from last year, and this is rose quartz. So it's a pink, and it's quite light to be used for a legible effect. However, I think if you have a wet writer, a broad nib, it would probably work out okay. Rose quartz. And this was the ink from 2023, by the way, from the ink of the year. Here is a dried swatch of that rose quartz ink. And you can see in the very highly saturated areas here that it has almost a purple concentration to it. So that's what that looks like dry. All right, next I have a sample of, I used to have the bottle, but I gave it away. So this is the Pelikan Ink of the Year for 2019. And this is Star Ruby. Now, some have described this as a red, and personally, I would say that it's a pink. It's a very rich pink, but nonetheless, that's how it would be categorized to my eye. So this is Pelikan Edelstein 2019 Star Ruby. Here's a swatch of what this looks like dry. And you might be able to pick up that in the highly concentrated areas here, there's just a very slight sheen that's golden, a little green perhaps. Now that's all I have for Ink of the Year, but I have two more colors from the Edelstein collection. So let's go ahead and swatch this. This is Aquamarine. It's a very lovely teal, and I think very well balanced between the blue and green spectrum. And here is a swatch of it dried. Now we have another from the Edelstein line. And this is Olivine. You can see right at first it went down quite bright looking, but it quickly becomes a more earth tone and darkens, and you'll see that even more so once it dries. And here is a swatch that's dry. So you can see, especially in such a saturated form, that it is quite dark. From the 4001 series, 4001. And I generally find, and I've heard also, that from this line it's a bit more of a basic formulation, almost something more similar to the Waterman inks. And I find it to be a bit dry, especially compared to the Edelstein, but feel free to share your experience with them. This is Pelikan 4001 Violet. And here's a swatch of that dry as well. Now, originally I thought that I had Pelikan Appetite also, but I don't. So these are the ones I mentioned, 6 colors, and all of them are drying, but I can show you the ones that have dried. So here's Golden Lapis and Rose Quartz. This is a bit brighter in person than it shows up on camera. Star Ruby, Aquamarine, Olivine, and Violet, which is still drying. So for myself, I really enjoy earth tones. So I would say from these, my favorite are Aquamarine and Olivine. However, I really do like the Golden Lapis. I think the shimmer is really awesome, but I personally wouldn't be using shimmer in my fountain pens. So if I was going the dip pen route and writing, I would definitely go with the shimmer. I think the gold shimmer is awesome. But if I was going to ink up a fountain pen, I would definitely go with not shaking the bottle and staying toward skimming the top of the ink vial when I filled it. Pinks aren't, I like mauvey pink tones, but these 2 shades are not my favorite, which is why I was happy to pass this along. I would say in this very saturated form, it does look to lean red, but I still consider that to be a pink. The camera picks it up a bit differently than in person, but if you've ever used this ink before, yeah, let me know what you think. Do you think that's a red or a pink? And then same thing, as far as the violet goes, this was like the first bottle of ink I had ever purchased, wanting a purple. And same thing, I tend to like things that lean a little bit more grayscale, so I have purples that are more favored than this one. So that's it for the ink swatching. And now I'm going to share with you the items that I used for my setup. I just think it's helpful for anyone who's interested in tools, and to put it toward the end that way, for those who aren't so inclined, it's at the back. So this is my passport, and this is Yamamoto paper. It's a really well-behaved paper. You can see how saturated my swatches were, and yet it behaves very well on the back. So you'll get a little bit of wrinkling, a normal amount of ghosting, like you can see, but it holds up beautifully. These are my Nicole Josephine brass clips, and I use them often with my passport notebooks and the such alike. The other thing I wanted to share was I did a little haul at Pelikan, so I'm going to show you the 3 items that I picked up. The stamps that I used for the ink bottles. Now these 2 were provided at the Pelikan Hub, and this is from Pelikan pens, but these, let me see if I can tilt this, there we go. I used this ink bottle, and this is a clear stamp set from Everyday Explorers, and this is the smaller size. So this is the currently inked collection. So that worked out really nicely, and I used Shashi Iro, and I don't remember what the English name of this ink was, but it's like a bronze, like a shimmery bronze. So I'm very fond of that, something very neutral. And for my dip pen, this is Hanabi Glass dip pen. I've been really happy with this. If you do, more of a deep dip like I did, you'll get a highly saturated. I did a little bit more shallow, and it performed better for my liking here. And let's see. This is the Pelikan Hubs notebook that is provided. I can show you that it behaves very differently than other paper. So this is the same as this. So it feathers. A bit. So it's notorious. People always have something to say about it. I actually think this feels improved compared to years past. It has felt more coated and more feathery. But, you know, I think it's usable. I use it on my desk for jotting down notes. It's not, you know, it's nothing too crazy. I used a ink sample here, and I used my Vial stabilizer from the PENdulum web shop. Also from our Webstore, we have pen trays. So this that you saw earlier, this is a Purpleheart 10 pen tray that I've made, and many alike items are available at the Webstore. Now let's go ahead and go through the little haul from Phaidon. I got this Midori extra small glue tape. I've been wanting to try glue tape for my journaling set for quite some time. So I wanted to go ahead and pick that up, and I'll take it all the packaging and take a look at it with you in a moment. I also have been curious to get a Blackwing pencil for some time, and they had this. I really like the color. So I went ahead and picked that up. And I also got a roll of washi. I've been wanting to get this for some time. Phaidon had actually posted about mustard beetle, and I thought that the washis were lovely. The one I wanted wasn't in stock. This is the last one they had, but it's really nice, and I was happy to pick that up. Also, while I was in the store, they have some pens to try. So I got to try the Lamy 2000 Extra Fine, and it was really interesting because I'm not tremendously fond of Lamy in general. I think they make fine pens, but it's not the best fit for me. And I've never been intrigued by the 2000, but I will say it was very pleasant in the hand. It's a nice size. It feels well made, and the nib is actually quite pleasant. It's too broad for me still as an extra fine, which isn't surprising since it's a German made pen, but all the same, yeah, I'm interested by my experience with that. Then they had a Platinum 3776 in soft fine, and likewise, I'm not very intrigued and drawn by Platinum, but this was a very pleasantly soft and bouncy nib, and so I was actually very intrigued by that. That was really nice. They also had the a Sailor Fude pen to try. I forget the name of that Sailor model. It's very entry level, but it was quite scratchy, so that was interesting. I just did a little sketch of my glue tape here and the Blackwing pencil that I got. So we can take a look at that glue tape now. I really like the sizing of this because it's something that's easy for travel to toss in the bag. So it looks like it has little tiny dots on that, like scales. Do you see that? Versus the other side, it doesn't. So I'm imagining that gets adhered to whatever you're attaching. So let's see if I can find something to glue down. Here's the little Pelikan logo from the notebook that was provided. So let's try this out. Okay, you can see there. It actually feels very sticky. It's surprising. And I'd say that works very well. I would just say that, you know, the tape is a little bit smaller than the roller. So you just want to make sure you're getting as close to the edge as possible. But there's something there to wind it. But overall, that's, I mean, it's definitely not going anywhere. That's awesome. So thanks for joining me on this. Let me know if you went to the Pelikan Hub, if you've ever been, if you're interested in going in the future, and what Pelikans you took with you if you did go. And if you have any favorite Pelikan inks, do share them in the comments below, because I've found these well-behaved inks and it'd be interesting to know some of your recommendations. I know that the I think it's Pelikan Brilliant Brown that a lot of people have been enjoying in the brown spectrum. So anyway, share in the comments below, and I'll thank you so much for watching. It's all up to you now. Enjoy your Pelikan pens and inks.